Hello and welcome. I am okay. Wow, this is pretty bad lighting. Hold on, give me a minute. There we go. Is that any better? Probably not. So you know what? Screw it. We'll just roll with this, okay? So the World Cup is happening in Qatar right now. We're at the quarter-final stage. I actually did have a fully pre-made video, right, with my group stage predictions, but I kind of got two of the groups mixed up and had to scrap the whole thing during editing, no less. So I wasted about 20 minutes of my life for absolutely nothing. But um, I need to talk about this. I needed to just grab the camera, make the video about what I've just witnessed. Right, Croatia have just knocked out Brazil at the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Right, this it was a big shock. In a tournament full of them. Right, how many times have we now seen the favourites for a match get knocked out? Spain get knocked out just last week, right? Against Morocco, right? Japan topped a group that included Germany and Spain. Morocco topped a group that had Belgium and Croatia in it. And and Uruguay get knocked out on goal difference, in a group that had South Korea and ironically Ghana in it. And hell, even Denmark finishing bottom of the group was another one. But ultimately, ultimately, Croatia have now knocked out Brazil. That's all happening. Now, what has just happened here? Croatia have knocked out Brazil on penalties, and just about everybody is shocked, except for me. Now, maybe I'm slightly shocked that it was Croatia that knocked Brazil out of the World Cup, but I knew it. I've been saying this since before the tournament even started. I said this in that as aforementioned scrapped prediction video that I made, right? I knew 100% there was no way Brazil were going to win this World Cup. I knew it before the tournament even started, right? This happens every single tournament, right? Brazil get hyped up as the favourites because they're Brazil and they've won the World Cup however many times. They've won it more than anybody else. They've got players like Neymar, Casemiro, players like that in their team. Vinicius Junior as well. They've got the best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion, Alisson Becker in nets. They have got an outstanding squad, right? And yeah, they get talked about as the favourites. But lads, read the room. Over the last 20 years, whether you want to admit this or not, I will touch on Croatia in a minute because they deserve it. They were sensational. But Brazil, over the last 20 years in a World Cup, right, have been complete and utter World Cup failures, right? They've been bottle jobs, right? This might seem like a controversial opinion, but it's the truth, okay? It just is. I'm sorry. Since they won the thing in 2002, right? The last five World Cups since then, they've had four quarterfinal eliminations and only one semi-final. And don't even ask them what happened when they got there. You know. Let's actually just quickly run through it all, right? For people saying, "Oh, this is a big shot. This is like a fluke," right? No, don't even go there because this happens every goddamn tournament, right? Just like Taylor Swift releasing new music and dominating the charts, or Ferrari just throwing away any sort of meaningful title challenge they might have. This is becoming an almost annual tradition. Well, I say almost annual because, well, this is only a tournament that happens every 4 years, right? But yeah, I mean, though, it's quite fitting that I talked about Ferrari there because Formula One fans who may watch this video, right? Because they might see us on Twitter, right? Brazil are just the footballing equivalent of Ferrari at this point, right? They are the biggest, most prestigious name in the entire sport. That they compete in. They've won. They've been world champions in their sport more times than anybody else, but in both instances, they're basically just nostalgia merchants. The only reason anyone even backs them to win anymore is out of pure nostalgia, right? Because you want to see Ferrari win the world championship again. You know, they want to see Charles Leclerc bring the World Championship back to Maranello, much like the same way you want to see Neymar, you know, deliver the World Cup to Brazil yet again, you know, after all these years, because, you know, the biggest nation, right? And I am partly responsible. I have been sucked out of this. I got sucked out of this hype back in 2018, right? Back in 2018, I was adamant that Brazil were going to win the World Cup, despite the fact they started like, despite the fact they started off, they drew against Switzerland. They had a bit of a sluggish start, and they needed 2 injury time goals to beat Serbia to even get out of their group, right? Well, I say that. It wasn't like they were in trouble anyway. It wasn't like Argentina, who literally needed a last minute volley from Marcus Rojo, of all people, to scrape their asses out of the group, right? No. No, it wasn't like that. But then, and then everyone gets sucked out of the hype. You know, Brazil, they're going to win the World Cup. They're in a quarter-final against Belgium, who just narrowly snuck past Japan in the previous round. And guess what happened? They went and bottled it again. You know, Kevin De Bruyne with a thumper to send Belgium through, and Brazil once again had egg on their faces, right? Let's look at it. Since 2006, right? You know, 2006 quarter-final defeat against France, who their best player was literally every single game. He was a game away from retirement. You know, as much as Zidane was an unbelievable player, every single game he edged closer to retirement. You know, there was a good chance every single game, you know, that World Cup could have been his last game of his career, right? And this is also a French team that didn't even make it out of their group in the previous World Cup as defending champions, you know. And then Brazil, they get knocked out in the quarterfinals by them. Then 2010, they get knocked out by Holland, also in the quarterfinals, although in fairness, the Netherlands did then reach the final, and only lost out, you know, to an Iniesta winner. Yeah, much like although I guess also France did make the final and only lost out on penalties. But honestly, I feel like if Brazil had gotten past France at that World Cup, they might have even won it. Who the hell knows? But after all, Italy had like the oldest squad at that tournament, I'm pretty sure. Then 2014, they were the host nation. 2014, they were the host nation. You know, it was their World Cup. You know, like this was the year where Neymar truly broke out. It was his first year at Barca, right? You know, people were hyping up Brazil. They got into the semi-finals for the first time since they won it in 2002, right? They got past a very good Colombia side from none other than an incredible David Luiz free kick of all people, right? They made it in the semi-final against Germany, and Germany, this World Cup, they drew against Ghana in the group stage. They needed extra time to beat Algeria, and they squeaked past France, right? Yeah. Brazil would have it was their World Cup to lose. Nobody could even picture anyone other than Brazil winning the World Cup. It was Brazil's to lose, and they only went and did just that, losing the World Cup semi-final by 7 goals to 1. You know, and that 1 was a late consolation. They conceded 5 goals in the space of 18 minutes in that first half. You know, Toni Kroos very nearly bagged himself a hat-trick in that first half. You know, it was unbelievable to watch. And the thing is, I knew at the time, because this was mainly because I wanted Germany to win. I'm always kind of biased towards it. If Scotland don't qualify, which is basically for every single tournament that's ever been, except for the Euros, you know, I always want Germany to then do well, right? And so when it was Germany against Brazil, I wanted Germany to win. And guess what? That's exactly what happened, right? And I've already talked about 2018, you know? And guess what? It's happened again. Brazil get talked about as the favourites, right? They go in to, you know, the tournament, like they win 2-0 against Serbia, Richarlison scores a wonder goal. They get past Switzerland, they chuck their B team or maybe even C team out against Cameroon, and they lose the match, right? And then they scalp South Korea 4-1, and people are talking up Brazil. You know, once again, you know, they're the big favourites. You know, the players are dancing, the coach is dancing, Roy Keane's fuming. You know, everyone's hyping them up. They are the favourites. They are gonna win the World Cup. They're coming up against Croatia, who just barely squeaked past Japan on penalties. And then guess what? It happens again. Brazil remember their Brazil, and they Brazil it up yet again, and they bottle a quarter final. Like, this match, what a game! Regular time, normal time, was pretty garbage. Nothing really happened, right? It gets to extra time, right? And right at half time in extra time, Neymar delivers a brilliant piece of quality and scores a quality goal, right? And Brazil are 1-0 up in extra time, right on the stroke of half time in extra time. You know, they you know, they think they've won it. That people think, well, that's it, they've won it. Everyone's thinking they've won it. I thought that as well, because in a match like that, you just thought, right, one moment of quality, right, one goal, and that'll be it. But after that, it was like they just stopped playing. I'm telling you, after that goal went in, as soon as Neymar hits the back of the net, they stopped playing. They let Croatia right back out of the match. And if we should be taught anything, if we learned nothing over the last 4 years, right? Never write Croatia off. Never write them off, right? Never rule them out, okay? Are we forgetting in 2018 that they made the final despite the fact they conceded first and had to play extra time in every single goddamn match, right? Winning all of them. 2 of them went to penalty shootouts. Are we forgetting that even against Spain in the Euros last summer, they were 3-1 down with about 5 minutes to play, and they took it extra time there before they eventually lost 5-3. And then literally just a few days ago, they concede first against Japan, they take it the extra time, and then they win the penalty shootout. Are we just forgetting this, right? Like, you do not let these... You've got to finish them off, right? If it's this scenario, you've got to make sure you finish them off, right? But, as I've said, after that goal went in, they stopped playing. Croatia were easily the better side after that. And then they equalised in the 117th minute to take it to penalties. They scored all their spot kicks, and then Marquinhos scalps the post, and Brazil are out the World Cup yet again at the quarter-final stage. And I'm dead smug about it, because I knew this was going to happen. People called me insane for daring to say that Brazil would not win the World Cup. For daring to say they had no chance of winning it. Right? I knew for a fact, I was adamant they would not win the World Cup. And guess what? Guess who's right? I've told you. I tried to warn you about Brazil, but you didn't care to listen. Nobody wanted to listen to me. And, well, look what's happened. Brazil go and bottle it again, right? In the quarter-final stage. And it's going to be the same thing in 4 years' time again. People are going to hype up Brazil heading into 2026. It's Brazil. They've won more than anyone. How could you not back them to win the World Cup, right? And then the same will happen again. The same exact thing will happen again, right? You can come back to this in 4 years, and I guarantee you it will have happened again, right? Okay. Like, if this was any other nation, almost any other nation, if this was a nation like, I don't know, a Portugal or a Uruguay, a decent team, but have never, or a decent team, but like, if it was a team like Portugal, Poland, or Uruguay, or hell, even Croatia themselves, who had these sorts of results that Brazil had ever since 2006 at World Cups, nobody would even consider them favourites for a World Cup. Brazil have been living off their name. We talk about Germany and Spain living off their names for the last 8 to 10 years. What the hell have Brazil been doing since 2002, right? If they weren't called Brazil, you'd stop backing them, If this is instead someone like Poland or Croatia getting these results at World Cups in 2006, you would stop backing them. But speaking of Croatia, I said I'd touch on them eventually, right? My Brazil rant is over. Fair play to Croatia. These lot do not know when they're beaten. That is their last 7 knockout matches in major tournaments. 6 of them have gone to extra time. 4 of them have gone to penalties, and every time it's gone to penalties, they've won it. It's incredible. How did they keep doing this? 2018 was supposed to be the peak for Croatia when they made the World Cup final. But people thought that's good. That's it. Surely, because Luka Modric. As much as I love him, right? He's one of my absolute favourite players. He was 33 at that World Cup. People thought he wouldn't come back for another one, right? And well, he has at the age of 37. But even then, 37. The players who starred for Croatia at that World Cup. Likes of Modric, Perisic, Rakitic. Mandzukic, all these other guys, right? They're all considerably older, and Rakitic has retired from the national team since then, right? That was supposed to be it. That was their best chance to ever win the World Cup, right? They weren't supposed to get this far again. People thought maybe they'll get to a quarter final if they're lucky. Who knows? But they were never going to win it again. They were never ever. Or no, not win it. Well, they didn't win it the first time, but they were never going to make the final again. They were never going to get this far again, right? And they've only gone and done it. How? How do they keep doing this? It's unbelievable. And Croatia, and especially because, I don't think we've seen the best of, Croatia yet, or Argentina, or Holland, but whoever wins that match between Holland and Argentina, Croatia have a brilliant chance of making it to the final again. It's unbelievable, but that's it. Let me know what you thought of the match and the World Cup so far. Are you surprised Brazil went out, or are you like me? You knew for a fact they weren't going to do it. But I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Bye.